All right, you got to, sometimes even in New York politics, you'll be surprised. This one, Exhibit A. State Senator Malcolm Smith, his attorney has moved for a mistrial today after officials failed to translate secret recordings that were in Yiddish. Prosecutors say the recordings may include favorable material to the defendants. Smith, along with former City Councilman Dana Halloran and former Queens Republican leader Vincent Tabone, they're accused of plotting to bribe Republican Party leaders so Smith could run for the GOP line in the New York City mayoral race. I still can't believe they thought of that one. Anyway, the judge presiding over the case says he'll make his decision on Monday. Dominic, I've heard a lot of things, but not translating stuff in Yiddish is a new one.
Well, that's
it could
half
actually
of it.
get tossed, right?
There's a strong possibility it'll get tossed. The major sticking point is that in discovery, the prosecutors did not turn over these hours and hours and hours of tapes that happen to be in Yiddish. So if you're Malcolm Smith right now, you're going, thank you, thank you, thank you. But even if it's a mistrial, a prosecutor's going to turn right around. They're coming right back. So it's not going to just go away.
Unbelievable. I don't even know where to go with this one on the Malcolm Smith. But attention, though, speaking of Dom, on New York City politics is on a bunch of different stuff, including future conventions. And you talked to a guy who knows New York City politics firsthand through a lot of different races statewide in the city, Hank Scheinkoff. You talked to him about a few subjects, right?
We sure did, Richard, and thank you. And let me, wait, is today your birthday?
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Wow.
The big 2-9.
Can we get a little
The big
50
2-9?
cents in here?
A little 50 cents?
A little 50 cents?
Do you say 50 cents?
Yeah, 50 cents.
If I could explain to you,
Okay, Stevie Wonder.
I'm begging you, move off of 50.
Well, see, now folks know the show is actually live as we're ad-libbing this, and you look like you don't want to talk about your birthday.
No, it's fine. I don't know where to go with it, but anyway.
But is your wife planning something nice?
Yeah, she is.
And the kids and
yes, they are, and yes.
happy birthday.
Plus, we have some recordings
Yeah.
in Yiddish for you about
Yes.
the...
Yeah.
We're fine.
90 hours.
Okay. Mayor de Blasio, I almost said Bloomberg. Mayor de Blasio wants the Democratic National Convention, bring him back, Democratic National Convention in Brooklyn. But conventional wisdom, Richard says that will not happen as some of the other major competing cities are in battleground states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. This while that Wrangell congressional race is being watched all the way to the nation's capital. Will the dean of the New York congressional delegation, Congressman Charles Wrangell, get one more term, or will voters in that Manhattan Bronx district make history and elect the first Dominican American to Congress?
You should vote for Barack Obama and Joe Biden.
Hank, do you believe the Democratic convention is coming to Brooklyn? And is it a good idea?
Well, look, it's not the worst idea, will it? Probably better off in Chicago. Why? The route to the presidency is bounded by two very important arguments. You need Southern Protestants and Northern Catholics to win, and you need to win those Catholics in the Midwest. Very simple. Where are the Catholics? In the heartland. They're not in Brooklyn, but Brooklyn does represent something more important. It represents the bonding of the Clinton wing and the de Blasio wings of the Democratic Party, progressives and centrists, and it's the most diverse place in America. And furthermore, there are more Democrats in Kings County than any place else in the United States.
American companies must act like American companies again, exporting products, not jobs.
In 1992, you know it was the jumping off stone for Bill Clinton, that is New York City. But a few short months later, the Democratic mayor of New York City lost, David Dinkins, and it started 20 years of control for Republicans of City Hall.
Look, do I think the convention might have an impact on local politics? Sure. Do I think the convention here would have a great impact on the local economy? Better. Would that help the mayor? You bet.
Okay, well, you mentioned the mayor, so let me ask you this question as it relates to de Blasio. Has he made it past the learning curve yet?
No one makes it past the learning curve for the first year, so don't blame Mayor de Blasio because he can't get there fast enough. Has he not made some appointments that he should have made? A lot of people feel that way, but you know what? Very complex place, complex region. He's now a major player. He's never been the mayor before. It takes time.
I fully appreciate how hard life is for so many Americans today.
Hillary Clinton was not far from here. 100 reporters credentialed for the start of her book tour, and she didn't take a single question. Is she in all likelihood the Democratic nominee? What is her odds at becoming the president of the United States?
Anything can happen in politics. 5 minutes in politics, 20 years in anything else. Is she the nominee? Who knows what's going to be in 2016? We got a long way to go.
He says that we should not be critical of each other. Then he comes back and gives me a shot, and I just want to prove that the record is against them. That's all.
What New York State primaries are you paying attention to?
Right now, the one to pay attention to is Senator Espaillat versus incumbent long-term Congressman Charles Rangel, the dean of the New York delegation, right here in New York City. Will have an impact on the region because either it will indicate the rising again of ethnic politics with the election of the first Dominican, Adriana Espaillat, to the U.S. Congress, or we'll learn again that ethnic politics are not necessarily the total desire. Talk to Mayor de Blasio about that one.
Polling shows that Mr. Rangel is a little ahead.
Mr. Rangel will win or lose this for two reasons. One, turnout in his own native portion of the district. And number two, the southern portion of the Rangel district has a lot of white liberals in it. Question is, will the endorsement of someone like Scott Stringer and help and turn out a vote for Espaillat and making him the new progressive? That's not impossible either. So those two factors in play. Charlie turns out his troops. The people in the southern portion don't turn out. Charlie wins. Go you one better. The other thing to think about is that voters tend to vote habitually. The last time we had a June election was 2 years ago in New York State. The one before that, in New York City, rather, was in 1973. So voters are not used to voting in June. Who's going to turn out? Those who like Charlie Rangel the best and have the most investment in him, and those who want to see Adriana Espaillat win with intensity.
Over the last 3 decades, the average tuition at a public university has more than tripled.
Last question. Can politicians in this day and age deliver on what they promise?
Politicians cannot deliver on what they promise. Why? There's more traps in the system than ever before. There are more gatekeepers. There's more gates. There's less deal making to go on because everybody's afraid of everything. We have government by do nothing because people are afraid to do anything.
People are afraid to do anything. He does have a point there. One thing I want you to keep in mind, this primary with Congressman Rangel, it's only about 10 days away. And Rangel has an advantage because there's a Latino woman that's also in this race. Now, why are we focusing on this? She has no money. She has no campaign staff. She doesn't even have a website.
But she's siphoned votes from Espaillat, right?
That's right. She's polling at 5%. That alone could toss this election into Congressman Rangel.
Well, you just hit on the race factor. There was a debate that happened earlier this week. Let's take a listen to some of the exchanges with Mr. Rangel and Mr. Espaillat.
This race would like to be framed along ethnic and racial lines by many folks. They would like to relive the West Side Story. This is about issues that impact everybody. Housing is not a Dominican issue. It's not an African American issue. It's not a white or Puerto Rican issue. Housing is impacting families across this district.
It's just a wrong thing to do, however, when you say that someone who talks like you and looks like you have an obligation to vote with you under the threat of being a traitor. That shatters the whole myth that a candidate should be what he or she can produce for the community.
But we need a visionary in this position, not persons who are participating in divisiveness unnecessarily or pettiness in debates.
Okay. If you don't think race has a lot to do with this race, you're not paying attention, am I right?
It's a race for sure.
Deep thoughts. Andrew?
You know, there is the racial divide within the district. There is also a sense that Charlie Rangel has maybe overstayed his welcome and been in the office too long, maybe one election too many. But, you know, it's his crown until somebody takes it away from him. I think he's got to be the favorite in this. You know, the polling you said is tilting slightly towards Rangel at this point. He's also a guy who knows how to bring home the bacon to the district, though primarily to the Harlem portion of the district and not so much to the Bronx portion. So, you know, we've counted him out more than a few times already. I go back to the boxing metaphor. It's his championship belt until somebody takes it away from him.
But, you know, Andrew's point, doesn't it feel, Dom, that even if he wins, he hung on one too many? I mean, he had a chance to leave, the statesman, the institution, all this. I know he doesn't care, right? But they all care about legacy when it's said and done. Even if he wins, I don't know if he wins.
Politics are amazing. Think about this for a second. He's hammering Espaillat, Congressman Rangel, saying that Espaillat, the only claim to fame is that he's Dominican and that he's playing the race card. Well, when Congressman Rangel beat legendary Adam Clayton Powell, what was his number one? He had two issues, age, and he told people to support him consistently throughout the years. For what major reason? Vote. That's right. Yeah. Vote for somebody that looks like you. And so now he's got the nerve to tell the other guy that he's playing the race card.
And he's not too old.
You know, we're not hearing in this race though any significant issue differences between the two candidates. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're that far apart on issues.
So that's the problem. You have to make a case of why the person you should fire Congressman Rangel and why you should be the councilman. I think Espaillat hasn't done a good job in making the case. He hasn't done a good job at building coalitions, which you should have learned from last time how important that is. Fundraising, get his name recognition up. There's a lot of things that Espaillat didn't do, and I think Rangel ultimately wins this because Espaillat, for lack of a better word, just didn't put together a good campaign.
You know, Richard, I always feel bad when Dominic on a Friday doesn't have a big smile on his face, and his favorite guy, Chris Christie, he's going to get to see him dance, and he's going to, he's going to be a sprinkler. There's going to be a bunch of stuff going in there, groceries, the whole thing. You'll get to see that. And also, big story today in our region: a plane crash with a very notable pilot in Westchester County, and our news folks were the first on the scene today. We're going to have that as well. That's all straight ahead. Stay with us.